The Maine Chamber of Commerce hosting a webinar today focused on the state's proposed Office of New Americans. Plans for the new office advanced out of committee earlier this year. While it still faces more votes in the full legislature, Governor Mills did include funding in her supplemental budget proposal. The Office of New Americans would support Maine's growing immigrant population, in part by helping them integrate into the workforce. One presenter during today's webinar cited a Department of Labor report stating Maine needs to add 75,000 workers by 2030 to meet demand. The co-founder of Luke's Lobster says 75% of their processing team is already made up of new Americans and explained their importance to Maine's economy.
70% of the lobster that's caught in Maine goes to a supply chain that relies more than 3/4 on new Americans. If we weren't here to process it, and if our team was not here to process it, then think about what would happen to the market for the lobster that now brings in more than $1 billion in total value to our state every year.
Ben Conniff says the challenges surrounding the hiring of new Americans include language and transportation barriers. He says they have programs in place, including employee translators and multilingual training tools to help support their